All right, let's talk to Eliot Shorr-Parks. I'm interested to find out whether Eliot thinks the Eagles should go all in for Maxx Crosby and whether they will at least try to go all in for Maxx Crosby. Eliot, brought to us by Colonial Hyundai. Shop online 24/7 at colonialhyundai.com. Colonial Hyundai, the fast, easier, better way to buy a Hyundai. Eliot, good morning, pal.
What up? How you guys doing this morning?
Dude, you know what's up is Ben's leg. Because he took a chainsaw through it, but
it's elevated. It is elevated.
It's elevated.
He chainsawed his leg, Eliot.
My God.
More of a man than me. I would not be in the studio if that happened.
Correct.
I mean, that was already known, but I think this confirms it.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, so Eliot.
Have you chainsawed before, Eliot?
No. I can answer for him. I don't even need to hear Eliot's answer. No.
Eliot Crosby, and I'm not talking Sydney. Maxx Crosby. Do you think Howie should? Do you think he will go all in for Maxx Crosby?
So I do not think he will. I think with Howie, you can't say 100% no. Obviously, we know he's one for a big move. But, the report that they're keeping tabs on it, that's not surprising to me. They keep tabs on literally everything, every free agent, every player that's on the market. They call, they sit, they call a bunch, and they like to know the information with it. So I'm not surprised at all that when, 12 teams were listed, that the Eagles were one of them. But I don't think that they will spend the cash it'll take to get Maxx Crosby. I don't think they will spend the draft revenue it'll take to get, or draft assets, I guess, that it should take to get Maxx Crosby. And I don't think they should either. I would argue backup tackle is more important this offseason than acquiring Maxx Crosby is. Their defense will be good. We've seen that with Vic Fangio. We've seen that with the current talent they have. They don't need to add Maxx Crosby. It would be nice, but they don't need to do it. They need players on the offensive side of the ball, especially if they trade A.J. Brown. So I think it'd be a poor use of resources.
So you're talking my language, Eliot. John, why do you disagree?
Because this is Jaelen Phillips is an edge guy who gave us 2 sacks last year, gave us a good amount of pressure. I'm saying Maxx Crosby takes Jaelen Phillips and turns him on his head and then some to give us double-digit sacks, to give us the production as well as the pressures. Maxx Crosby is a leader, is a guy who is first out of the locker room, is a guy who everyone in that locker room depends upon. It's just a completely different vibe than what you got from Jaelen Phillips. Are you saying that you would endorse the Eagles returning Jaelen Phillips, Eliot, as part of this better result in your view?
Yeah, and I think they will return Jaelen Phillips. My guess is he will be back with the Eagles next year. In terms of the locker room
and what is
stuff,
he going to be owed? Like that contract, that feels like an overpay where you've potentially got Maxx Crosby on deals that are $30 million and less a year.
I don't think he'll get. Yeah, I don't think he'll get what Maxx Crosby's on. If you look at the edge rusher market, there's like a clear discrepancy in pay between the guys that we would consider
elite,
like the Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, those types.
Maxx Crosby.
Yeah, Maxx Crosby. And then there's a drop-off. Right now it's free agency, right? So obviously he will get paid more than he would if, there's 2 years left on his deal. I don't think he'll touch $35 million a year in true money. When the report comes out, maybe it'll be like fake $35 million a year. I think he'll be closer to around $55 million guaranteed, maybe $25, $30 million a year. I think he'll be below the $35 million. In terms of your points about Maxx Crosby, yeah, if I could add Maxx Crosby for free, I would definitely do it, right? Like he's a great player. Right. But if you go and add Maxx Crosby, you're taking away, first of all, probably 2 to 3 starting level players on rookie deals, because that's how they're drafting right now. And I know you can't always go off that for the future, but the last 13 picks they've made in the first, second, and third round, I think have all turned into starting players. So if you trade 2 of those, that's 2 starters, and it's a ton of cash, right? Like, if you trade AJ for Maxx Crosby,
there's no way I'm going to turn around and say these draftees this year are going that I can count on them as starters. I mean, I look at those guys as if everyone in the world is hurt, maybe I count on those guys. That doesn't make sense counting on.
I would normally agree with you on that, but I think the track record of the past 3 years, you almost have to look at it differently. Like the duo of Howie making the picks and Nick developing them has clearly made these picks more valuable. And I also don't even think they need an edge as much as you're making it out to be. Like, if they re-sign Jalen Phillips, they have Jalen Hunt. Nolan Smith is at worst
I don't want to
above
re-sign Jalen
average.
Phillips. I don't want to re-sign Jalen Phillips. I guess maybe that's at the core of this too. I think Jalen Phillips gave us a nice year last year. I think that's the best you're going to get.
Well, here's part of my point at the core of my thing, Elliot. I get what John's saying. It'd be nice to have Jalen Carter and Maxx Crosby, but I guess the core of my point is I'm already good up there because I already got Jalen Carter. Like, I already got my Warren Sapp. I got my Fletcher Cox. I get,
having two players at that level is the difference between good and
But at
the roof.
But at the expense of what? I mean, do you really want Jalen Hurts throwing?
This is affordable
to Riley Cooper.
This is affordable by NFL standards, and no, I don't want him throwing to Riley Cooper. By the way, we've got a lot more talent than just DeVonta Smith.
They're down to DeVonta.
You've got Johnny Wilson.
Nobody
you've got
cares
Darius
about
Cooper.
Nobody cares.
Yes, you've got guys.
Those
are not guys. Those are fifth and sixth receiver guys.
They stink.
Fourth at best.
Jahan Dotson is a good third wideout.
Well, they don't even have him yet. They got to sign him again because he's a free agent.
Johnny Wilson is a good wide receiver. Yeah. He's not great. He was hurt last year. We have no idea what that's going to look like. Let me Darius Cooper, I say, has a lot more talent than we've even seen. We haven't seen enough.
If he doesn't spin the ball and get a 15-yard penalty, there's some talent there. Elliot, let me ask you this. Do you think the Eagles go into this March, and this can all get cracking next week, with the idea of let's pay Jalen Carter now? Like, I would pay him now. I've seen enough to say $150 million to that guy. Do you think Howie will bet on Jalen Carter now?
Yeah, I think he will. Now, it's a complicated contract. I think with Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, who, by the way, noteworthy to me, the Moro Ojomo switched agencies yesterday. Obviously it's a big offseason for him. So, he's a potential guy they'll pay. I think the Jalen Carter one's a little more complicated just because he could get twice as much as Jordan Davis, and obviously he's not coming off of a great year. He was suspended for the first game of the season. Like, he has shoulder problems. There's a more complicated deal there, but I do think they will pay him. Yeah, I mean, the sooner you pay him, this is exactly what the Eagles do. They pay guys early so that they don't pay them more later. Now, there's obviously risk in that, right? Yep. Like, if they pay him a ton of money now and he has another year like last year, then you've probably overpaid. But I think that, again, from the moment they drafted Jalen Carter, they started to think about what this contract would look like, and I do think they will sign him this offseason.
Elliot, as we project toward next week in free agency, what, in your opinion, will happen with Dallas Goedert?
So I saw the thing yesterday that he's as good as gone. I think he is likely gone. I think they're going to be very active in the top end of the tight end market. Name I would keep an eye on is David Njoku. I think there's a real possibility he ends up on the Eagles. And if that happens,
what would he cost?
I think you're probably looking at double digits, $10 million, $12 million a year. In terms of total guarantees, I'd have to look closer at the top of the tight end market to see what they go for. But he is, I believe, 28, 29. He's played fewer games each of the past 2 years, so potentially you're not, paying top dollar for him. Like, I don't think he would get what Kyle Pitts would get on the open market, but he is a former first-round pick, ultra-athletic. He blocked a lot last year in Cleveland. He was a red zone target for him, so I think he checks a lot of boxes what the Eagles would look for. If that doesn't happen, then I think you could see Goedert return. I think Goedert is going to be in that second tier money-wise of what tight ends cost. So I would say Goddard's likely gone, but I think that, a lot can happen in the next week.
And Reed Blankenship, is he all but I have no idea what to make of this. I feel like he deserves more money if he's an Eagle, because he's worth more to the Eagles than he would be anyone else. But I just have no idea how other teams view him. Is Reed Blankenship likely viewed as a guy that multiple teams would be interested in, or are the Eagles basically bidding against themselves for his services?
So I think he's a $10 million plus a year guy.
Wow.
I think he's
surprising.
Above average NFL starter. I don't think he's a great starter. I think he's dependable, which is really what the Eagles need at safety. But, they put Marcus Epps in there last year and got pretty solid play from him, and he was on a minimum deal. So the safety position is a tough one for this team. They arguably need 2 starters if they lose Reed. I know they'll go with Makuba as one of them, but he's a huge question mark, and you don't know if he can stay healthy. So, the Reed one, I think they'd like to have him back. If you look at the 2 guys I think are most likely to leave because they'll make more elsewhere, I do think it's Reed and Nakobe.
So you think Reed gets paid more than Nakobe? Because you say $10 million, that's like $3 and $30. You think Reed Blankenship walks away from free agency with more than Nakobe?
Yeah, I think there's a chance. I think they'll get comparable money. I think Nakobe is a better player than Reed Blankenship. I think they're somewhat similar, but I think Nakobe, obviously has the injury history, fell in the draft, like all those things I think will go against him. Like Reed Blankenship, for whatever, you think of him as a player, he does play every snap every week for multiple years, and there's obviously value in that. So I think they'll make comparable money.
All right, Eliot, I want to get to the A.J. Brown thing, and I want to play some audio of Mike Tannenbaum, former NFL general manager, Mr. T, as people call him, talking about A.J. yesterday on ESPN, strategy he thinks the Eagles should utilize. Let's listen to something he said.
First of all, you go to Buffalo. The owner came out and said, we are going to get another receiver. They have the 26th pick in the draft. If I'm the Philadelphia Eagles and I could trade A.J. Brown for the 26th pick, I would take his money and make sure that we extend Jaelen Phillips, a great trade they made last year, who played really well for them, and then go draft Omar Cooper. There's going to be a lot of receivers that could draft there. You talk about Doc connecting. How about Mike Vrabel with New England? They're desperate for an outside receiver. 31st pick in the draft. Reunite him with A.J. Brown from Tennessee. So I agree. 4 great years with the Eagles. If I'm the Eagles, I'm shifting that money from the wide receiver position to Jaelen Phillips, and then I'm going to draft a receiver at the bottom of the first.
All right, do you like that strategy for the Eagles, Eliot?
No, I don't. I mean, that's how you end up throwing to Johnny Wilson and Darius Cooper. Like, I think that we're overestimating a little bit, I guess not say everybody, the loss of what A.J. Brown will be for this team. Yeah. Like, if you want to argue, trade him now because you trade him a year early, I get all that, right? If they get a late first-round pick or a second that can be a 1, I understand the value of trading too early as opposed to holding on and then next year, I mean, I don't know what you get in a year. Like, he'll definitely want a new contract, so I get that. But he will be a huge loss. Like, if they trade A.J. Brown, the biggest hole on this team immediately becomes receiver. I know everybody's hyping up this idea Devontae is going to put up huge numbers in the Sean Mannion offense, but, like, I'll believe it when I see it. Devontae's already a great player. I don't know how much more great he can be unless you're just throwing targets to him all the time on a bad offense. Like, they need someone to replace A.J. So if I'm trading A.J., I'm using all those resources, like that draft pick, that cash, to go and try to replace A.J.
All right, Eliot, let me ask you the Twitter poll question of the day. It's brought to us by Armin Chevrolet. Minor fender benders to major accident. Armin Chevy's Collision Center will get your vehicle looking like new again. Together, let's drive. Visit ArminChevy.com. Here's the poll question, Eliot. If the Eagles trade A.J., do you think they get a first-round pick in return, yes or no?
I don't. No. I just don't think that if you look at the history of the market, like 8 receivers have been traded for a first-round pick since 2016. 7 of them were younger than A.J., and a lot of those 7 were considerably younger, like 3-4 years younger. I know Devontae Adams in 2022 is one way to look at it, but that's the outlier. So I don't think they will get a first-round pick. And Howie's really set himself up here where he said a bunch of times, you have to blow me away with an offer to get A.J. If they get a second that can be a 1 or like, let's say the 31st overall pick from the Patriots, is that truly being blown away? Like, I think if they end up trading A.J., it'll be because there's interest in the building of trading him as well.
All right, Eliot, good work. Hey, final thing real quick. I mentioned this earlier. I know you're Mr. Soccer guy. I'm curious. Are you with the hammer? And this is no disrespect to soccer.
Okay.
There should not be a World Cup soccer game here in Philly on the 4th of July, which there currently is scheduled.
No, of course I disagree. It's the biggest sport in the world. It's, it's just 250th.
It's not bigger than our 250th anniversary. Why do we have to have them on the same day?
Well, because it's way bigger than the 250th anniversary.
I disagree there, buddy.
It's the biggest sport in the entire world by an extremely wide margin. So, yeah, of course there should be one.
I mean, to be fair, there are probably more people who care about soccer than about our 250th around the world.
But we're here. We're us. What do I care about what they care about? I care about what we care about.
Eliot, I would just like to warn you after that last comment that your mentions are going to be really interesting today.
Well, there's nothing new there then, really.
This is true.
So, yeah,
I mean, exactly. Eliot, why don't they schedule it for, like, July 6th? Why does it have to be July 4th?
Because it's the biggest sport in the world and they can do what they want. So they're putting it on July 4th.
Elliot, do you know why people play soccer?
Why, Ben?
So they don't have to watch it.
Oh,
here we go.
Look
There we
at
go.
Ben.
Nailed it.
From the top rope.
All right. It's okay. Baseball's definitely number 2 by a wide margin, but it is number 2, yeah.
All right, Elliot, good work, buddy. We'll talk later in the week.
All right.
Thanks, pal.